Beside the sea, on England's northwest coast, lie 7 miles of golden sand. Blackpool is a magnet for 8 million tourists during the summer season. The 6-mile-long promenade boasts not only 3 piers, but also Britain's last remaining electric street tramway, which celebrates its 100th anniversary this very weekend. On the 29th of September 1885, Blackpool inaugurated Britain's first electric tramway, a transport mode which was to reach its zenith in the late 20s, when over 14,000 tramcars served our streets. Now, with a fleet of less than 100 trams, Blackpool is the last of its kind in Britain. It is rather defiantly 100 not out. The tramway runs past the numerous necessities that are the making of a typical British seaside resort. At the hub of the tramway is the most dominant feature in Blackpool, the tower. Built in 1894, the 518-foot-high tower still has 9 years to go before it can celebrate its centenary. Even before the tower was built, Blackpool was attracting large numbers of visitors. In 1884, a miniature electric railway designed by Michael Holroyd Smith caught the imagination of the town's council. It was agreed to construct a tramway along the promenade, and this was subsequently opened to the public on the 29th of September 1885. Electricity was fed to the tramcars via an electrified channel running beneath the road, which the tram's current collector accessed through a narrow slit in the road's surface, a method otherwise known as the conduit system. By 1890, about 1 million passengers were being carried annually, and in the last few years of the century, some extensions were opened. A separate tramway was opened in 1898 from the fishing town of Fleetwood to Blackpool. The conduit system suffered from sand and salt water, and was eventually replaced by an overhead wire system. By 1905, a scheme to provide a wide promenade with the tramway totally separated from the street had been completed, and this is one of the reasons why the promenade tramway still survives today. It neither contributes to, nor suffers from, congestion on the street. There were other extensions to the system which remained virtually intact until the 1960s, when all the street tramways in Blackpool were abandoned. There remained, however, the 11-mile coastal stretch from the south of Blackpool to Fleetwood, and this is still in use today. Today, Blackpool's trams carry some 8 million passengers a year, far fewer than the peak years when the inland routes were running, but a very healthy total nonetheless. For the tramway is not just an attraction in its own right, it also provides a public service all the year round. The traffic is seasonal, of course, and whilst up to 60 trams may be in service at the height of the season, a dozen trams may be adequate to cover the winter timetable. For the Centenary celebrations, a parade of tramcars would take place, the like of which Blackpool had never witnessed before. As well as Blackpool cars of the past and present, trams which once ran in other cities were summoned to appear, some having been restored to working order, especially for the celebrations. To the joy of enthusiasts and general public alike, some of the historic trams were running in normal public service before Centenary Day. This is an old Blackpool tram dating from 1928. Number 167 was known as a pantograph car, because initially current was collected with a pantograph rather than the trolley pole it now uses. In its time, number 167 ran on the Blackpool to Fleetwood service. This tram used to run in Glasgow. This is a Blackpool Dreadnought tram, built in 1902. A Blackpool tram of the standard type, built in 1929 and repainted in an old livery for the celebrations, meets a Manchester tram, built in 1914 at the Tower stop. One of the popular boat trams floats towards the tower. Blackpool's newest, only a few months old. Glasgow number 1297 was built in 1948. 100 of these Cunarder type trams were built and ran in their hometown until 1962, when tramway operations ceased. Blackpool 706 has been rebuilt to its original state with an open top. It was named Princess Alice after the Duchess of Gloucester, who also performed the naming ceremony. Close by stands Sheffield number 513 of 1950. The star of the celebrations is Blackpool number 4, built in 1885 for the first promenade tramway. This tram ran in passenger service until 1912, receiving a trolley pole for overhead current collection when the conduit system was abandoned in 1899. It subsequently worked for many years in the works fleet, as an overhead repair car, and later as a snowplough. After an initial restoration in 1960, it has now been rebuilt back to its 1885 state for the celebrations. Batteries have been fitted beneath the saloon to propel the car, since the trolley pole was removed during rebuilding and the conduit system no longer exists. Blackpool by boat. The distinctive Roberts tram was the last type to be built for Sheffield, where tramways closed in 1960. The greatest free show on earth, or the Blackpool Illuminations as they're otherwise known, are perhaps Blackpool's most famous attraction. The illuminations are another vital factor in the tramway's survival, as the lights stretch for some 5 miles along the promenade, and the best way to see them is from a tram. For road traffic, progress can be painfully slow, as the street becomes clogged with coaches and cars, sometimes well into the early hours. As well as seeing the illuminations by tram, one can also be part of them by taking a tour in a specially illuminated tramcar. As the light fades in the sky, more than 375,000 bulbs will spark into life, and the promenade will be transformed. The tramway Centenary is reflected in the 1985 illuminations with this tableau. The model tram represents Blackpool Standard Tram number 40, which was chosen for the official Centenary insignia. The real number 40 is also in Blackpool for the celebrations. Blackpool has 4 special illuminated trams, all simulating some form of transport. This is the hover tram, built in 1963 from an old single-deck tram. It is 48 feet long and has seats for 99 passengers. It is illuminated by some 4,000 electric bulbs. This is the Santa Fe train. This rocket, sitting on its launch pad, is called Tramnik 1 and was built in 1961. The rocket fuselage is covered in about 3,000 bulbs, and there are seats for 46 passengers inside the rocket. The Santa Fe train has seats in the coach and in the tender. Brash, brilliant and unique, the Blackpool illuminations.